Evan, how's that rash? At
Oh
least
my gosh, that might actually
Ah,
that might actually be out there. Hey, what's going on, everybody?
fantastic.
Hope you all have had a great week. Welcome back to episode 2 of our podcast for random guys. Well, that's not the name of the podcast. It could be though. My name's Isaiah,
Maybe.
and that's Ben. That's Devin. That over there is Josh. Hi, Josh.
What up?
What's going on? Yeah, hey, this is episode 2. Last week we started a brand new podcast. Essentially, just 4 guys here talking about the things that interested us throughout the week. How's y'all's week been?
Chill, pretty good, pretty cool, pretty fun. I don't know. It's been
It's great
alright.
content.
Yeah, thank you. I've been practicing all week.
The same, by the way.
What did y'all do this week?
My week was long. Started out really good. So Monday was my 2-year anniversary of being together with my wife. So we had a good day then. But then after that, my dog got sick. And so we've been dealing with that ever since. She's doing better today. But yeah, we had to go to the vet yesterday and everything. But I did learn that at this point in pregnancy, because my wife's pregnant for those who don't know, I'm
Not you,
experiencing...
yeah.
It's highly possible that I'm experiencing what's called sympathetic hormone change, which means that my hormones are changing and I will sympathetically start to take on kind of some of the habits that my wife is, like, eating junk food, late night eating and stuff like that. And so she told me this, and coincidentally, I've had fast food like 6 times this week and I've had candy twice, and I woke up at 3 a.m. for a scoop of ice cream recently. And so there may be something to it.
Now, hold on. This is new for you, though, because I always have just understood that to be a part of your regular personality.
No, it's new lately. I'd been doing really good, and all of a sudden I've just like totally fallen
Gotcha.
off. So
think-
I don't know. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but I'm totally running with it.
Well, it is
Just getting with
science,
my wife.
so
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like an excuse to eat ice cream at 3 a.m.
Yeah, but
Nobody needs
it's also I
it's
can
literally
blame it on my
called
wife.
sympathetic, Isaiah. All right, Devin's just trying to love his wife.
exactly.
Fair enough.
Understand.
I
what
probably
she's
put on
going
more
through.
weight than she has in this pregnancy. So
Well, you were also putting it on before the pregnancy, so I don't know if that's sympathy hormone.
Ouch! Ouch!
That's how you
Devin-
drink a smoothie.
Oh man.
Uh-oh, did we lose Devin?
Yeah, or is
No.
Devin just he's just upset. He's just angry.
Devin got himself a new mic though. It sounds really good.
okay, perfect.
Yeah, sounds
I
good.
can't
Josh,
So
Josh, what about you? How's your week been, man?
It's been good. Not really not a ton going on, but yeah, just pretty chill. Really nothing worth mentioning on a podcast. So but thank you for asking.
That's good. Ben, how about you?
As they've been talking, I've been trying to think of anything interesting in my life, but I don't have that. Nope, pretty uninteresting life. But that's the kind of thing that I kind of like sometimes. So it's like, this was the dream. It's like,
fair point.
yeah.
A lot
This
of
was
times
the
life gets interesting when things go wrong. Like you have a dog who, never mind,
Yeah.
I won't even get into the
Things
details.
are going really well, which scares the heck out of me because, like,
You know
Yeah,
you're
you
doing
do.
something bad.
That's all that means.
I'm overdue.
That's funny. That's funny. Devin, what are you eating?
Leftover Wingstop. So
No,
I got in from work about 20
Is this the
minutes
hormone
ago,
sympathy thing? Is
showered,
that-
and no, this is just, yeah.
That's
Yeah, let's
just
go with
right.
that.
God, yeah.
Rebecca in the
Isaiah-
comments says the beard boys are back. We do
Yeah,
all
she
have
should really
beards.
title our episodes.
You all have the beards. I trimmed mine. Mine was like getting pretty gnarly, and then I had to trim it. What were you gonna say, Josh?
I was gonna ask you, how was your week?
It's been good. We watched the first half of Sound of Music last night. Hadn't watched that in a while.
Wow.
It parts of it have aged well. Other parts you're like, oh, whether it's from like the quality or something else, but no, it's was fun.
I thought you were about to say like something that's culturally insensitive, like on Disney Plus, whenever there's anything like before 1980, and it says, "This may." Have you seen that little thing? Disclaimer.
May
for,
like contain outdated references or yeah.
all outdated cultural
Yeah.
references.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
well, I feel like The Sound of Music. Y'all got. Hey, by the way, say what's up to Cody Dugan.
So
He's up in the
Dugan,
comments.
what up?
Getting married.
Yeah. No, I feel like Sound of Music was already kind of like that cultural commentary on, I mean, given the premise. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched
There's
it.
Nazis, guys.
Spoil The Sound of Music.
I don't know, man. Talk about anything these days, and it's like, you spoiled it for me. Spoiler warnings have to be everywhere.
Well, it's been
Anyway,
out,
it's
like
been out since
We're about to spoil some stuff later today. Tease it though.
yeah. So let's go ahead and actually
End of the show.
let's start with what we've got here. So first thing on there, kind of in that world of music and movies and entertainment. How's everyone's week been? But Shark Week is back.
yes.
Shark Week is back
Right.
this week,
It's
August 9th through the 16th on the Discovery Channel. Devin, this is something you are very passionate about.
Yes, Ben knows because he lived with me for 2 years. But yeah, I like have it on the calendar every single year since I was probably 10 years old. I think I've seen just about every episode since then. Although in the last couple of years, so they got off on this horrible thing a couple of years ago where they started making the mockumentaries, like kind of inferring that does Megalodon still exist? And it's like, no, I mean, no. Yeah, don't go
become
down that
History
road.
Channel.
Yes, exactly. And so they started doing that, and then they've distanced themselves from that, and they've kind of gone back and said, hey, we apologize for those episodes. But recently it's been these celebrity episodes that are just unbelievably annoying. Last year, the opening episode of Shark Week, it was Rob Riggle, and I've never been a huge fan of Rob Riggle, but now I despise the guy based off of last year. But every celebrity episode's the same thing. They take them and they put them in the water with reef sharks, which are smaller ones, and they swarm and they do like a feeding frenzy. And every commercial break, they make it seem like they're about to get bit, and then they cut to commercial break, and then they come back, and it's like, hey, they didn't get bit; they're still alive. But other than that, I watch all the educational episodes.
Give us the most interesting shark fact that you can think of right now. Otherwise, you're going to prove that this Shark Week thing is pointless.
Okay, so they have these like pores on the surface of their snout and their face called the ampullae of Lorenzini, and it's how they detect electrical signals in the water. And so even if you're not putting
Wait, it's called what?
the ampullae of Lorenzini.
It sounds like an amazing
it's basically
subtitle to a movie.
They
Yeah,
look.
now,
they
who had
look-
money on Devin quoting Latin in a podcast episode? Because you probably cash out big there.
They look like blackheads, to be honest, like on your skin, and they're filled with this like clear gel, but it helps them detect like electrical signals in the water. So even if you're not bleeding per se, and maybe they can't hear your heartbeat in the water, they can sense your electrical signal. So that's how hammerheads actually have the most, and that's how you'll see clips of hammerheads like on the seafloor, and there's like a fish that's like totally covered in sand, and they'll just chomp. Because I can sense it.
I feel like I should have.
Wow,
I feel like I should have had an overlay that's like, and now you know, or the more you know.
you know.
Yeah,
There's probably there's 5 more things that I could get into that I find to be super interesting, like tonic immobility and some other stuff like that. But I won't take up the whole podcast with shark facts.
Wow, I'm impressed. I mean, I didn't doubt your shark knowledge, but I didn't know
You
how
thought you were
detailed it
stupid.
could get. No, I knew he knew a lot about sharks because he and Megs love sharks with their costumes and tattoos and whatnot. But
Okay, all right. One more thing that's super fascinating. It's related to
We
sharks.
started him.
One more thing. This one's really cool. So killer whales. All right. So there's this thing you can do with sharks where you turn them upside down and it puts them in like kind of a catatonic state, and they call it tonic immobility. And researchers do that to implant chips and tag them and stuff like that. But killer whales have figured out how to do this. And so they've been killing like great white sharks along the coast of Africa. And so what they'll do is they'll ram the shark and kind of daze it, and then they'll bite it on like its body, and they'll flip it over. and they'll hold it there for like 15 minutes until the shark essentially drowns because it's not getting water to
Jeez.
go through its gills. And then they'll rip it open and eat the liver because apparently the liver is like super high in calories. But the interesting thing is killer whales have figured out how to communicate this to other pods, which I just find to be like fascinating. How do you communicate? How do you figure out that you can hold these sharks upside down for X amount of time and then they'll die and then you bite this one spot and you rip them open and you eat the liver, like, and then communicate that to another pod?
They need to train
goes
Shamu to
towards-
do that.
Yeah, this is my theory. This
Some
goes toward
Blackfin.
everyone has a nerd thing that they can like fully talk about, like everyone, no matter,
Competently.
huh?
Competently.
Semi,
Semi.
like they just like
They have a
really
lot of
love-
facts. They definitely have a
Yeah.
lot of facts. I know
Yeah.
what you're going for, Ben. Yeah.
Well, like I think that everyone's a little nerdier than they let on in real life.
Oh, for
Like
sure.
I would like go do like school visits and I could like stand at the middle of a table and like on the one hand you've got like kids that would like be more stereotypical like nerdy or gamers, and then you'll have like these jock athletes over there, and if I said in the middle of the table that Goku could beat Naruto, just as that anime reference, both sides of the table will be like, what did you say? And then just kind of like converge. And so everyone's got this like latent nerdiness that they could talk about for a long time. And
For
Devin,
sure.
you found yours.
Well, that's
There it
just one of them, but yeah.
is.
Hey, sharks are a lot cooler than Naruto. So kudos.
Oh,
there.
I would agree. Thank you, Josh.
Naruto is so
Wait.
boring. I can't do it.
I had a roommate who watched Naruto.
Hot take.
I've never seen anything
think I'm
on
just
TV
going to
that
go
could be
ahead
less
and-
targeted at me. Hey,
Oh,
if I
no.
did it again. Oh wow, wow, Isaiah, all that power in your little chair.
I let him still hear you. Go ahead, continue.
Oh yeah, I was just saying. I don't think that there's ever been any form of entertainment ever created or devised by the mind of a human being that could be less appealing to me than Naruto. Which is not an
Wow.
objective statement about its quality. I'm just saying, like, I can't believe there's something that's out there that is so not compatible with my taste. It's really shocking.
But that side note, Cody Dugan had a great suggestion, Devin. He said you should stream yourself commentating on Shark Week all week long.
Oh, dude. I'll get ready. I'll do it.
Yeah.
You should probably. I wouldn't like. Well, I guess you could stream it. You probably get pulled down if you had like the audio in the background or actually tried to bring in the video.
Fair
but what you
enough,
could do
yeah.
is just record your reaction, like the Scooter Magruder.
Yeah,
bits,
yeah.
and just like
Those are
chop them
great.
up real quick, and just you reacting to all the stuff on
I
Shark
like
Week.
your
and
shark
anybody-
metaphor for his editing. Yeah. Chomp
What's
them
that?
up.
Jump them up. Yeah.
I said
Very,
chop.
very the Shark Week thing.
I said
things.
chop.
Oh,
But so do you guys have any of those things? Like for me, like so Shark Week was never the thing. Like I'll be honest, I had friends that loved Shark Week, and I would watch Shark Week because they loved Shark Week. I didn't really care too much, but it's been around for like almost 20 years, hasn't it?
Oh, longer.
time.
Been around since
Like-
like the late 80s, I think.
really?
I thought I saw something that was like 20 mid 20s or something like that. But whatever, I mean, it's been around longer. You know what? Do you guys realize how long Survivor's been around?
Yeah.
Dude, forever.
Yeah, I watched a compilation the other day. I know, just totally off topic, but like I watched a compilation of like times that players like broke the rule, not broke the rules, but they like I forget what the title
Dude,
was.
was
like
it
they
Hack the
hijacked
Game? Because YouTube
Yeah.
suggested that for me.
Dude, same here.
I haven't
I
seen
wa-
it, but
I watched like 10 of those things where it was just compilations of like the players, like just hacking the games. And what's the guy's name that hosts it? Jack or Jeff or
Jeff
something?
Probst.
Yeah, and him just getting like super frustrated. There was one where it's like they hacked it so hard he was just like, "Well, just pick your winner then," because like clearly you guys aren't gonna actually play this game. And it was like he was so mad. But do you
Is
guys
it
have anything
still
like
going?
that though? Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I guess I
they
don't know.
just had
about
like their biggest
this year.
season.
Did they really? Wow. I remember I watched
Yeah.
the first season with my family. And I think I was like 7 years old.
Well,
This
so-
had to be, I was in second grade, I think.
This last season, which was the first one I've watched in like literally over 10 years, it was a season of all winners. Like that's how long the
Mhm.
show's been going on, that they have 20 winners on the show.
Wow.
And that's like
That's
half
insane.
of them.
Insane. Do you guys have anything like Shark Week that y'all do look forward to each year though, like a seasonal thing?
I don't know if it's a seasonal thing, but like anytime that there's like a new superhero movie, I'm like there. And I'm not necessarily like a Marvel DC versus DC guy in that
Because that's an obvious answer.
Yeah, there's no competition, at least in movies.
oh, let's talk. All right, fine. I wasn't gonna go here.
Well, no, I'm talking about the movies. You wanted like
No, I'll do it.
overall.
MCU has been good lately. All right. Yeah, like since 2008. I'll give them that. Okay, they got a few misses.
That's literally the
Like,
entire
the first
existence
two
of the
Thor?
MCU.
Yeah.
The-
So what you're saying is
It's like
they've
Iron
been
Man
great.
came out in 2008 or 2007.
So what you're really saying is they've been great as long as they've existed.
Yeah.
Nope, because you've got all right, the original X-Men movies, not that great. Hugh
Not
Jackman's
MCU.
Not MCU. You said
Clarify
the
your
MCU.
terms, yo.
Awesome. Okay, Marvel Studios, fine. All right. Man, I'm gonna lose a lot of respect for myself after this. Okay. Hold.
I think we found Ben's.
Well,
That's
I
the
thought
M-
this was his nerd thing, but he'd be able to distinguish the MCU from what Fox and Sony did.
All right. So here's
Cue the
thing.
SpongeBob meme.
Oh, we got this one's mock.
That's hilarious.
So the thing is, Marvel movies have been good lately ever since the MCU. Let me give that correction. But Marvel movies before that aren't great. Now, in regards to like
Bro,
individual,
Spider-Man.
I don't like Tobey Maguire.
At the time.
Dude.
Yeah, but you can not like him and still love the Raimi films.
Oh, yeah, dude. Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, that is my favorite superhero villain because he just does not care and he goes all out. It's hilarious. It's awesome.
But you like him. You know what? We're gonna have to. We talked about this earlier this week. Like we're gonna have to eventually go through and rank all of these things. But like you like his Green Goblin more than Heath Ledger's Joker.
So it's different things for me. Like,
Well, those are both superhero villains.
I get more entertainment out of watching Willem Dafoe portray the Green Goblin than I do Heath Ledger as the Joker. All right. But this is like,
Oh,
I'm not going to decide. Hold on. But here's my thing. I'm not saying his performance is better. And I'm not saying I sit down and am I going to watch, The Dark Knight or am I going to watch Spider-Man?
It depends on if you have 3
Sam
hours or
Raimi's
2
Spider-Man.
hours.
It's more like, am I interested in laughing and having a good time? Or do I want to watch something that's dark and serious?
I
So
have,
that's how I draw the line there.
if there was a different person who played Spider-Man, maybe. But Tobey Maguire to me is the 2000s era superhero version of Kristen Stewart. Just all the emotional depth right there, and I just couldn't get into it even as a kid.
Really?
So what I'm getting at is Marvel has made overall more good movies, but the Dark Knight trilogy still holds to me as the pinnacle of like what a superhero movie could be artistically.
Yeah. Do we want to postpone that for a segment later?
Is that the next segment?
No,
No.
at some point we're going to talk about Christopher Nolan stuff. Thanks for reading the rundowns on the episode, Ben, or listening when we were literally talking about this like 15 minutes ago.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
Real quick
Oh.
though. So real quick. You didn't like the Spider-Man movies or like the Marvel stuff like the X-Men movies or remember the Hulk movie? You didn't like that even at the time? Because I realize they have not aged well, but at the time I thought at least the first two Spider-Man movies, the Hulk movie, which I know today, it's like one of those guilty pleasures for me today, the
It
original
ends
one.
up in every $2 bin you can find.
Yeah, it is. And I just really enjoyed it at the time. And the X-Men movies I thought were okay, but it's like when if all you've had your life is McDonald's, you're like, yeah, McDonald's is great. And then you go have like prime rib and you're like, oh, I didn't realize what I was missing out on.
I thought we were going to go to
That's the
Whataburger,
MCU.
but then you switch straight to prime rib.
Yeah,
that'd
that's
be
like
shocking.
the difference in the old
Yeah.
Sony and Fox stuff. And
From the McRib to a
MCU
prime
now.
rib.
I think okay. I never liked Tobey Maguire very much. The action was pretty
Fair.
decent at the time. Okay. I thought the third Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire was a tire fire.
Oh yeah.
I thought the
Full
first,
of entertainment, though.
I thought the first three X-Men movies with Hugh Jackman were not good, but they were not as bad as Dark Phoenix was, the most recent one, which was absolutely terrible.
Bro, that scene with Nightcrawler? Legit.
Dude.
In
That
the
whole movie is just.
in the White
There's
House?
like 10 minutes between the end of the second act and the end of the third act. It was horrible.
Ugh.
Those are really hit and miss. The X-Men ones.
um
Days of
We know
Future
the best
Past-
one's X-Men Origins Wolverine, though, right?
Oh, that Deadpool though.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, we're done. We're done with this. We'll come back to movies. We'll
Yeah.
come back to movies later on. So Shark Week is this week. Devin, if you had to if you had to give us a pitch for somebody who has no desire to watch it, but they should, what would it be?
All right, how many people are terrified of sharks?
I don't like anything
Everyone?
Yeah, that's how my fascination started, to be honest. My fascination started is this kind of phobia of deep water, and the phobia of deep water is mainly because of the phobia of being eaten by something that I can't even see. But there's like this strange, like, fine line between phobia turned to like fascination. And so I think that's how I started watching it. And then the more you learn about sharks, the more you realize like, wow, sharks don't kill that many people every year anyway. And we kill way more of them. And it's just super educational. But
They don't
now,
kill that
my
many
best pitch
people
now,
because we
drone
kill so
technology.
many of them.
Ooh, that is a
Drone
good
technology?
Drone technology has made
The
Shark
sharks
Week
have learned
really
to
cool.
use it, and they're
Yes.
coming, man.
They're hunting seals with it. No, no. So now they're getting really cool shots. Like they had a really cool shot last year of there's an island in Africa they call like Seal Bay, because at that time that's where like 50,000 seals will congregate, and that's why great whites will come and just like swarm the area. But they got some really cool drone footage of like they can see off in the distance a great white, just kind of circling, and a seal just like kind of slide into the water, has no idea the shark's even there. And then you see the second he slides in, you see that attention from that great white just turned to it, and they got some really cool chases and actually some kills on camera.
Hold
That'd
up.
be my pitch.
You mean to tell me that every year a bunch of seals congregate in the same place where they know a bunch of their friends died the year before because sharks ate them, and they still go back?
Yep.
Seals are dumb.
Seals are dumb.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Speaking of dumb, is that a good transition, Isaiah?
That is funny. Well, when Devin said next up on our agenda today, we're going to talk a little bit about conspiracy theories. And Devin, when you said drones, I was like, oh my gosh, what is he about to say? I
Once
was
those
like, oh,
sharks
no.
get 5G, man,
Oh,
it's
hey.
over.
I saw they're
okay.
making a Deep Blue Sea 3. Have y'all ever seen those movies?
There
I
was
saw
a
that. I didn't even know
Were they
there was
like-
a 2.
They like genetically engineered the sharks to be like super intelligent and stuff. Yeah, they're making a third one, and I watched the trailer for it, and it
Is
looks-
LL Cool J gonna be in it?
Do they bring back
I don't think so,
Samuel
otherwise
Jackson
I-
somehow?
Man, so
Oh.
these I feel like these things are everywhere right now, right? Like I feel like conspiracy theories have gone from that thing that like we would collectively gather some that were like obviously like dismissed and laugh about them when I was like in high school.
Yeah.
Then like as I was like a young adult, I was like, oh, I didn't know that about the bank system or about and then like I just feel like they're everywhere these days. Do you guys feel the same way?
Well, it's the lizard people are in control of the government and stuff, and so they have all these sort of satanic plans to take
for
us all
sure.
out. So yeah, no, they're all real and everywhere. Duh.
What are some of the ones that you guys have seen lately, or even just that have stuck out to you in the past?
Well, I think lately you're just hearing a lot of like COVID related ones. Like it seems like what COVID has done is it's created a lot of people who are looking for some sort of deeper, shady, ulterior motive to like why things are happening. But that's not even new in regard to like, oh, a major event is occurring and it is changing things. Let's go ahead and say it's something more than what it is.
How would you
9/11,
guys, before we dive
JFK.
into that, though, like, how would you guys how would you define? Sorry, not dive. How would you define like a conspiracy theory?
So theory about a conspiracy, just off the top of my head.
For that kid.
But
Well, I think it lies in the word conspiracy. The idea that there's some sort of underlying like organization or group that are working together in secret to change the way society or politics operate. Like,
Hmm.
and so like it's not a real conspiracy theory unless you got a bunch of people in on it. And yet somehow you, the person with 50 people subscribed to your blog, have insider information about something that these billionaires and politicians are somehow organizing.
So,
And
so Josh, you kind of you chimed in sarcastically, but like what I was getting at is how does that differ from just like a bunch of people believing something that was wrong? Because I feel like that's
Something that was what?
that's something that was wrong. Like I feel like a lot of times it's just a group of people that were wrong about something will get lumped into this category of conspiracy theory. But I
Right.
agree with Ben. Like, so what do you think the difference is?
Well, I think we obviously have a connotation to think of conspiracy theories as, oh, things that are crazy and not real. But I mean, like, there are like people conspire to do things, and there are theories about it that may or may not be true. But I think that the big driving point is that a conspiracy theory in its literal sense is just any idea that some group is organizing something against some other purposes. Often we see that in pretty outlandish ways, like the moon landing's fake, 9/11 was caused by the government, and that kind of thing. But that doesn't mean that they're necessarily untrue. Like we just had an investigation in, well, I don't want to get into that
Yeah, I
necessarily.
know you're going.
There are
Ben.
some that are more believable than like it's. Well, here's a great one. The whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, not his suicide, but like
Yeah.
if you were to, before you had any of the facts, there was a conspiracy between Jeffrey Epstein and his friends, buddies, people he blackmailed, whatever, to do all those horrible things that they did. It was true. That turned out to be true, that those people did actually conspire. So I'm not talking about like the conspiracy theories behind the suicide and stuff. But the point is that conspiracy theory does not equal wrong, although probably the most famous ones are wrong.
Yeah,
agree.
I mean, I think there are some that are definitely like, they hold some water, but I think a lot of them they kind of take partial truths and then they put it into this greater narrative. And the greater narrative often it just gets I've heard it put this way recently that so especially related to like the COVID stuff and is this like a giant conspiracy to like take away our freedoms? Often being opportunistic on behalf of the government or anybody like that is often a much better explanation than like a diabolical plot. And so I don't want to dive into whether or not the government is taking our freedoms away right now by like requiring us to wear masks and stuff like that. But even if they were, is it a better explanation that was just, hey, they saw an opportunity and they saw something to gain from it and took that opportunity? Or was it this whole diabolical plot where this is the whole reason that COVID was released from a lab in the first place? It's that Occam's razor thing, the simplest explanation. It's probably the best.
And what I often say about this, because we often, even if you're not the kind of person to look for conspiracies on the mass worldwide political scale or whatever, human tendency is often to find malice behind some of the decisions that are unfavorable to us. So if your coworker gives you a look, you'll think, oh, that person was trying to hurt me. Or if your teacher, when like, I know working with youth, students would always say, oh, my teacher's out to get me. And it's like, probably not though. Like that's like a little kind of mini kind of conspiracy theory mindset that it's kind of our natural go-to. Sometimes it's blown way out of proportion, but the explanations for these things, almost always, it's much more likely that somebody's doing something out of incompetence or insecurity or just complete ignorance or indifference to your situation that you then translate as this must have been conspired by a group. This must have been a thing that people conspired to do against me. So, probably not.
The best conspiracies we probably don't know about because they were successful.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a theory.
But like, I do know, I think a conspiracy theory, the most unbelievable ones are ones that like involve the whole government, because like a lot of these coronavirus conspiracy theories, it's like, wait, so you think that, I think Ed Stetzer said this in an article he wrote on Christianity Today. It's like, you think that Trump, the Democrats, the Republicans, and like Oprah, they're all in on this together and they're all keeping the lid shut. It's just like,
along with the other world governments, which we definitely don't get along with. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Think about how many leaks come from government in general. They can't keep non-conspiratorial stuff under wraps.
Yeah.
Then you were about to say something.
They're not nearly, there's this view that like, especially
Here's your chance,
Internet
Ben.
gets us again.
Internet
Pull some of this
strikes
stuff
again.
off.
They heard what we were talking about,
Uh-huh.
and they,
We're gonna get censored and
Oh.
pulled down, guys. And that's
Oh,
gonna
I'm
mean
getting
it was
I'm getting
true.
a fuzzy internet warning. They're already coming after me.
I think, Josh, though, what you said earlier, just about like how we tend to pick and choose, or people tend to pick and choose which one fits their current situation or negatively impacts them. I think that's true because, we were talking earlier about like QAnon stuff and how a lot of that is beliefs held by extreme right-wing personalities and people against the left. And I'm like, well, you already kind of held those politics and political views about the left is a bunch of bad guys, and then you had this conspiracy that showed up that said that they're even worse, and so you really took your politics that you already had, and then you picked the conspiracy theories that were favorably painting the people that you already liked. Because I mean, if you're trying to say there's corruption in politics, why are you only limiting it to that one party? Why is it that they're all bad and your guy somehow seems to be, a savior to fix it all? And so, yeah, I think that we're really selective like that. Like I was talking to Devin a few days ago, how you'll have people who maybe fall more towards the far right on things, who are believing in conspiracy theories and believing that the government is somehow out to get people, or they are out to get people. And then you hear statements about systemic racism in the country. And I'm not even going to say whether or not that's true, but you outright disagree with that idea, even though if you are prone to believe that the government is conspiring towards something, you should be interested in that and be like, oh yeah, that's totally possible that, there's something systemic going on there. Yet you don't go for that because that doesn't fit what you already thought to begin with. And so I think that if you look at the particular conspiracy theories that people pick out, I don't necessarily think it says something about their intelligence, but I do think it says something about their pre-existing beliefs already, because that's the conspiracy theory that they chose to believe.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the things that we in a conversation that I had, I think it was with Devin or maybe Josh, but like, in psychology, they have a term for that. It's called belief perseverance. That the things that you believe, however you've arrived at your beliefs or preconceived notions, that like it's the easiest, what we'll naturally do, we will revert and look for things that are gonna, belief perseverance is essentially the psychological idea that whenever we're presented with data or information that is opposing our beliefs, we will do whatever it takes to find defense, whether it's in other people, whether it's in other ideals, whether it's in whatever enter thing there that's going to help you just kind of fortify your position so you don't have to move. And it makes sense because, I mean, just emotionally, psychologically, like to make that shift to I was wrong and I have to change a bunch of stuff is a bigger leap and takes more than to find something that'll defend it. And so that's, to your point, Ben, that's on regardless of what side. I think a lot of the stuff that we're seeing out there is evidence of belief perseverance because, and it's a big thing to say, I might have been wrong about something, on whatever side you find yourself on, when there are a lot of people, loud people on both sides that'll just say, no, hey, no, we're still right. Just come here. Josh, you were about to say something though. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So if anybody wants more information, just kind of on general conspiracy theory stuff, there's a political scientist from the University of Miami named Joseph Uszynski. He did it. If you like podcasts, he did interviews on 538's podcast as well as The Remnant. But his website's got a link to a lot of his research and articles he's written. But what he talks about, he's done nationwide polling, built a lot of the data on conspiracy theories. And so, like Ben, to your point, he says it is conspiracy theories usually confirm your priors. That's what it's going for. However, it's not the biggest predictor of somebody who would believe in conspiracy theory has nothing to do with political affiliation, religion, race, really even where you're from. The biggest predictors are level of education and level of household income. The lower on both of those, the more likely someone is to believe in conspiracy theories. And then one point I wanted to make, Ben, is because he's specifically done some QAnon polling. And it's actually not a right-wing conspiracy at all. It's split right down the middle. It's a very fringe conspiracy. For those who don't know, QAnon is a ridiculous conspiracy theory that Q, who's a covert operative posting these leaks from the government, supposedly, is working within the Trump administration to take out the deep state. But it's actually supported, well, first of all, by almost no one. But it's equally supported by people who identify as Republican or Democrat, because this is actually just a revamped version of a theory that's very, very old that basically says that the government is run by, and this is for real, so don't is run by a ring of pedophiles who are worshiping Satan, that kind of thing, which was the basis for the a huge JFK conspiracy portrayed in Oliver Stone's film. That's the basis on a smaller scale to the first season of True Detective. Did y'all watch that? Everybody's favorite show from 2015. Yeah, so that's like a persistent thing. Its latest form is QAnon, but it really doesn't appeal. Like what Uzinski said was that's like one of the most unpopular known conspiracy theories out there.
Because I saw the there was a bunch of people had Q banners up at the rally, at Trump's rally, but then as they interviewed them, they were like, oh, you had both parties there representing
that's a good
the rally.
talking. That one's specifically is a good talking point for now, because it's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of different conspiracy theories, and especially during the pandemic with a lot of and that's the thing, a lot of the rhetoric you see out there regarding to multiple issues on child, pedophilia or the COVID conspiracies and stuff like that. It's kind of all wrapped up in that group's ideologies, whether people recognize that or not. I saw one this week that was the hashtag on Facebook of save the children had been blocked. And that's another aspect of this thing, that the censoring kind of almost makes it worse because it convinces people that they're right. Well, but I thought that was odd. And then I realized, that's because that hashtag is coming from QAnon, which has been labeled as a domestic terrorist threat last year. So that's why it got pulled down, not because the deep state is not wanting you to know on Facebook, all their shady dealings. But
I think, though, you've hit something which is it. A minute ago, I said that, people who believe in conspiracy theories, I don't think that they're necessarily dumb. I don't think that these are dumb people, but there's a flawed logic, because it takes a certain level of intellect to try to draw these connections where they may not really exist. It's really clever. I don't agree with you, but maybe you should get into writing fiction, because that was, a pretty good, tale that you spun. Go ahead, call up Stephanie Meyer and say hey, here's an idea for your next thing, because what you've got going on is just garbage. And so just go ahead.
That was a nice little subtle dig.
Yeah.
Ben, you've been hurt.
But I think that goes into some of the logic that people have. It's two things. One is, if they take it down, it's because they're trying to suppress us, or a distrust for the liberal media, or the mainstream media. And so it's, they try to paint it as the only reason that they try to shut us down and to try to sequester this information, or to suppress it rather, is because they don't want you to know the truth. That's the idea. But if they didn't want you to know, then they would have gotten Q and they wouldn't have let him post anything. So stop that mess. Okay.
So let me ask you guys a question.
Q's just that good.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Okay. Actually, I have three questions. One, is it QAnon or QAnon, or how do you?
I don't know, man.
And then it's the guy's name is supposed to.
That was a joke. So
I think it's pronounced Kanan.
Whatever. But so two questions, and you guys know the second one, but my so maybe not in the world of these extremely tense political ones that are current right now, but just in general with these things, why do you guys believe that people have why do we flock to these things, even the ridiculous ones, right? Because whether it's, you go back in time, right, the JFK ones, the UFOs, I watched the top 10 or Watch Mojo top 20 about just all the UFO stuff, and some of them are crazy, some of them have water or whatever, but just any of the crazy ones, why is it that people would even flock to these things? What about, we've kind of touched on it, but I just want to get y'all's thoughts on that specific question.
I think that a while back, someone was mentioning how I think it was NT Wright, he was talking about COVID and how that there is this rationalism that makes people want to feel like that there's a bigger, more concrete answer for every question. And so it was like asking like, why would God allow COVID to happen, or like give a specific answer and try to find a Bible verse that's specifically going to say like judgment against a nation or something like that, right? And so there's this desire that people have and have had for a long time that everything that happens is for this larger, more sophisticated reason. And so whenever something happens that doesn't seem sophisticated enough or complex enough, that people are going to try to create something more out of it. So rather than just saying there was this one guy who wanted to kill the president, they try to make it a conspiracy theory that the CIA was involved and that they were working with, such and such in order to silence JFK. Okay. Or the moon landing, that rather than simply just trying to build, a national pride and try to, say we're better than the Russians, that is this whole conspiracy theory and that they faked it, that they put it in the studio, because the simple answer is not sufficient for them. They need the plot twist. They need the bigger purpose behind it, or they need the more sophisticated answer. And so people have a hard time taking something at face value and saying, okay, well, that's what happened. They feel like the truth is not a sophisticated enough situation. But to what Josh said earlier, like, not everything is done out of this like forethought, malicious, evil mentality. Sometimes people just do dumb things, and sometimes people just do bad things. And you're giving a lot of credit to people by making it think that they have conspired or they've thought this through. Like, you think that you're so dumb or you're so smart and that they're so dumb that they did these things. Actually, you're giving them a lot of credit to think that they all work together to conspire to create this virus in a lab and then to send it out into the world. So I feel like people just are not satisfied with the simplicity of the truth, and they feel like they need to go for a more complex lie.
Yeah.
I see nods over there, Devin.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with what Ben said there, but I think another aspect of it is that some of them I do think are built on partial truths. But like, the Epstein thing one, like some of that is definitely true. Like Epstein was a pedophile, and I do think that he's probably not the only one. There probably are other people involved in this thing. Now, is it a global thing? I think that's a huge leap to take, and I'm not willing to take that leap unless there's some, very compelling evidence that's given. But I think especially with ones like QAnon, they'll take those little partial truths, and it's like that. Is this an accurate description of confirmation bias, where, just because that one part is true, like the whole grand narrative must be true as well? Or am I misusing that term?
I'm not sure what you're trying to say.
Well, I'm saying like with the QAnon one, so they've been on the Epstein thing one forever, and then obviously the global pedophile ring forever, and now they happen to be right about at least one of them. Epstein, was a pedophile, but to take that one little victory and say that the entire thing now is like reasonable or believable, I think that's too big of a leap for I would hope most rational people.
No, I'm not sure if that's the right use of the term, but I get what you're saying. Yeah,
but
it's like saying, oh, well, there was something right about this, therefore the rest must be right. And it's like, well,
that, and then
that's just a logical fallacy.
Yeah, that's a logical fallacy.
And then to piggyback a little bit off of what Ben said, with I think like even in this podcast of four guys, there are competing agendas and competing visions for what we wanted this to be, and we have to work together to kind of figure out what this is going to be, and that's true of just human beings in general. And the larger it gets, I mean, when you talk about competing agendas and government and stuff like that, you really think that all these people are in on it together, and that one's not going to tick off the other person, and then they're going to say, well, hey, I'm going to rat on you now. Like, yeah, the bigger it is, the less believable it is for me.
Yeah, if you have a conspiracy and it involves like 2 or 3 people, like it's like, oh, I could see, like it, or take the Epstein suicide. It's just like, I mean, in theory, only one person had to hire a guy to kill him. So I don't know what happened, but it's just like, it's not crazy. Now, if they said that every sitting Congress member was in on it, I'd be like, all right.
We took a vote,
Yeah. They took a secret vote.
Secret vote.
What do we do with this guy?
Yeah, they didn't put that one on C-SPAN.
Yeah.
So there were two articles that were written recently, within the month or so. One was from the Gospel Coalition that said Christians are not immune to conspiracy theories, was the headline. And then the Dallas Morning News actually wrote one as well, saying too many evangelical Christians fall for conspiracy theories online, and gullibility is not a virtue. So kind of that second question from that is like, I mean, we're all Christians, we're all believers in Christ. Do you guys believe that there is a susceptibility or an increase in susceptibility amongst evangelical Christians? Because that seems to be what people are writing about. It seems to be like we're the ones, out there pushing a lot of this. Do you guys agree with that? What do y'all think?
I've come back and forth on this. Firstly, I know some great Christians, like they have a genuine relationship with Jesus Christ, who they go in for a lot of conspiracy theories. Some are more incredulous than others, but I think that I'm trying to figure out, is it that Christians are more susceptible, or is it that most of my friends are Christians and I'm seeing their posts online? But I'm having conversations with teenagers who, it seems like a reverse of what I've been talking to their parents about for the past 5 years. Like if I go a couple years in the past, I'm talking to a parent, and a parent is saying, how do I keep my kids safe from what they see online and on social media? And now I got kids saying, how do I keep my parents safe from the conspiracy theories that they're seeing online on social media? And it's so interesting to see that flip. But I feel like that there is something in the evangelical world that really makes a lot of Christians drawn to conspiracy theories. And I think I jokingly said it one time, but like if you look at evangelicals' approach towards the book of Revelation, like taking every current event they can find and fitting it into this idea that, this is the end times, this is a sign of the end times. This isn't even a young idea. You go back to the plague, like a third of Europe dies, and then there's wars on every side. And so Christians at that time are like, oh, it's the end. Because if things are going bad for you, it's so easy for you to fit the end of the world into the end of your world. And so with COVID and with war and with any violence in the United States, people start crying Revelation and conspiracy theory. And so you go to like the Left Behind books, which a lot of people may enjoy and have gotten some great entertainment from, but it really tries to portray current technology or current developments as some sort of conspiring thing that the Antichrist might be able to use. Like I remembered whenever I was a kid and hearing people who I love and respect talk about barcodes as the mark of the beast, or microchips or anything like anytime that there's a new form of technology, they're like, it's the mark of the beast. And I go, the beast has got several marks at this point. And I would like someone to just write out all the times that the evangelical community has said that that person's the Antichrist, or that person is, going to be a part of the end of the world, or this piece of technology is like this verse in Revelation. We have been doing that for years with the Bible, trying to make all of the things going around be a part of this end of the world conspiracy theory. And I do believe that, the world will end and that, Revelation will, come to pass. But that's different than trying to make every circumstance and situation that goes on be part of that grand conspiracy. So I think that you've got people who've been raised up kind of hearing something that's very like that kind of falls into that conspiracy mindset. And then they have grafted that onto the other things, that sort of thought process and that false logic onto other things that they see on social media lately. That's just an opinion and a theory of mine, but it does feel like a lot of Christians tend to gravitate towards the conspiracy theories, especially the idea that all of this is more malicious and evil or of the devil that than it actually might be.
Yeah.
Josh, what do you think?
Statistically, it's just untrue. Statistically, there is no one religious, political, ethnic, national group that's more prone to conspiracy theories. Again, referencing Joseph Uszynski's work, the only consistent predictors, and they've done a lot of work over a lot of years collecting data on this stuff. The only consistent predictor has to do with education and household income status. So I think, Ben, you kind of mentioned, I think that like when we see, because I know people who put out this stuff, not nearly as many people as y'all though, just from our conversations. I think there's a little bit of selection bias that can go on. We see the people around us, and we also see one person, and all of a sudden we multiply that to 3 in our head. And so we see 3 people do something and we think, oh, all these people believe X. I don't know anybody who could like, I think to say the evangelical community has always looked at these things this way, that's a stretch. It's a stretch statistically. And I think even on better personal reflection, we would know, hey, maybe I'm not putting into, maybe I'm not counting all the people who haven't said any of these things. So I am concerned when Christians, when evangelicals are quick to accept some theories without evidence. But as far as compared to the rest of the world, it's just statistically proven that we're not a more susceptible group.
So let me ask you a question then, Josh. Do you think there's any we asked before this, why do people jump into these things, and kind of essentially agreed on this, like, wanting just to have the inside scoop or to know, is there a nuance then for why the ones who do latch onto these things might? Do you see like maybe a difference in the why they would, not necessarily in the more of them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's one of the things in Uszynski's research he's pointed out. It's like why somebody believes in a particular, like their particular theory has a lot to do with their deeply held beliefs. That's different. That's a different story. So that's why you'll see evangelicals that do believe in conspiracy theories probably support the same ones because they're coming from a similar background. That in itself, though, doesn't mean that they're more likely to believe in just any conspiracy theory. So I think that a lot of the stuff you see is evangelical, like we talk about coronavirus or QAnon or whatever. Evangelicals are going to be more on the distrusting side of government, more on the individual side of liberty. And so any conspiracy theory that supports that worldview, that's what they would support. So, I mean, we can think of conspiracy theories that like, again, none of us are really jumping off at the gun to accept some theory without evidence. But you can see like, oh yeah, like I can see the bad guy they make up in this. That's somebody I'm ideologically opposed to. Now, I don't think they're going to take over the world, but that's a conspiracy theory that you would, if you were that type of person, we would be supporting that as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I might
for
be
sure.
talking a little bit.
Devin, what do you think?
I'd push back on that a little bit, mainly just because I see it a lot. I know a lot of people, and they don't all agree with each other, but they all have some, just interesting views, from family members to friends to and then I also have a lot of family members and friends who are not believers, and I feel like I do see it less from them. And partially it may just be because they're apathetic about it. They don't really care. They're just, involved in their own life. They don't have a spiritual element of their life where they think of grander things. So maybe that's an aspect of it. But I think that for the Christian community, I mean, if we take a look at just how many people we know that and obviously this stuff is all just, everybody has their own interpretations and we're all going to be wrong about something. But I would say that if I, tried to make a percentage on how many people I know that have bad end times theology, it would be kind of high or alarming, more than I would want it to be.
Assuming that's all conspiracy theory stuff, though, I think is going way off the mark.
Fair enough. But I think an element of it that's important is, and I can make like a huge long argument for this, but I'll try to just condense it, like going all the way back to like the Great Awakening in America. There's a shift in Christian thinking and Christian thought towards more of an experiential part. And I think that if you ask most people, at least in America, why they are Christians, they would give you, well, I was raised in church, or I had an experience that confirmed the truths of Christianity to me. And it's often an emotional experience. And now I'm not trying to devalue like an experience with the Holy Spirit or anything like that. That's absolutely crucial. And even partially, I my conversion story, I did have an experience, but it wasn't so much an emotional experience as it was like a realization that I don't have anything to lose here and I have something to gain. But that's not the reason that I remain a Christian today. The reason I remain a Christian today is because I find the evidence for the resurrection so compelling. But I think that kind of experiential part, Christians will tend to take that and evaluate everything else in their life through that same lens of experience and how you feel. And while we celebrate that, and when we talk about, coming to faith and salvation, I don't think we would typically encourage anybody else to make decisions in other areas of their life based on that, based on experience and emotional and, an emotional experience. We would try to say, well, hey, is it reasonable? Is it logical? What kind of evidence are you making your inferences from? And so I think that plays a huge element in it.
Well, I don't understand that exactly, Devin, because a conspiracy theory belief is the opposite of experience. I mean, nobody's really, I don't understand how you could associate that with experience. It's fully rational thought, whether it's right or wrong. It's a rational decision to say, oh, look at these pieces of evidence that this guy's throwing out here. None of that has to do with experience. So I don't really see how that's relevant to just kind of the facts of why people believe this kind of stuff.
Ben, before you go on, Devin, go ahead and reply to that.
Well, I mean, I think it starts with they're starting from the belief that there is this global conspiracy already. And so then they take that preconceived
belief, not experience, not a feeling they have.
It's a feeling. And I would wrap that up in kind of the same thing as an emotional, like, kind of draw to believe that.
The emotion to know that you've got it, or you have some knowledge.
I would agree with Devin and Josh on this one. In that, Devin, you're
that
saying,
guy.
Yeah, I know. I'm that
How
guy.
middle of you.
Right, middle of the road. Yeah. That there's that. I think that you are right that it is emotional, but I think that they would argue that that it's logical, even though it is based on emotion. Like, we could see from the outside that it might be based off of an emotional standpoint or a pre-existing belief, but to them, this is rooted in a deep logic and understanding. So I don't think that they would say that it is an emotionally held belief, but that it is rational, that this is the best option, that this is where all the evidence points. But they're saying that from a position of a deep sense of conviction and feeling about it. And so, yeah, like to what we kind of said, people pick and choose their conspiracy theories out of preference and not proof, but they would probably call it proof.
So for me, I think the thing that I've noticed, because Ben, you said it at the beginning, and it's exactly where I fall. Like, man, I don't know. Like, there's days based on what is on my social media feeds that I'm like, come on, Christians, what the heck are we doing? And then there's days where I'm like, it's none of that stuff, And so for me, I think I'm landing in that kind of middle where it's like, I think it's because it all depends on what conspiracies are necessarily gaining traction right now, right? If there are ones that do have involvement and consequence and in the religious world, not even just Christianity, if there are conspiracies that play a part into the religious world, well, then of course you're going to see an influx of people of faith taking into those things. If it's ones that are purely secular, I think that's where those are the ones that I start to see the spread is really even, or even just an unconcern from the religious communities. And so like I would say, if I were I don't think Christians are any more susceptible. I think they're more susceptible to ones that involve them and their faith.
Sure, yeah.
And even toss in, yes, their political beliefs, because a lot of those things are influenced and stuff like that. But it is that middle. Here's the question I want to kind of, as we land the plane on this, because I don't think we're all disagreeing or agreeing. I think like we definitely see that there's this middle ground. But as people of faith, anybody who does consider themselves a Christian that's listening to this, like, how should we approach these things? I'd love to hear all y'all's thoughts. Like, as people of faith, how should we, or just people in general, if you're just going to give general advice, like, how should we approach these things? Josh, how about you first?
Well, first off is to state whatever your opinion is strongly and act like you're better than other people for not believing what they do. Kidding. No, I
I
think
need you to go ahead and clear up the fact that that was a joke.
yeah, that was sarcasm. I should throw that out, I guess. Yeah, look, none of us knows everything that's going on. I think that anytime we all have triggered emotional reactions to things that come on in front of us, whether we're right or wrong, whether it's something crazy or something really understandable. I think anytime that we have a strong emotional reaction or feeling about something, I think always good advice is just to pause on it, whether it's a conspiracy theory or something your friend posted online or something that they're saying, is this true or not? Whatever. Just take a moment, pause, reflect and say, does this actually make sense? If I'm going to go ahead and promote this opinion, this view, this theory, can I do it in a way that is actually convincing? Is it going to do more good than harm? And again, this is whether I think you're right or wrong. But I just think taking a measured approach and trying to say, all right, I'm not going to act in my emotions. I'm not going to act when I'm feeling things the strongest, because again, whether you're a conspiracy theory type person or not, we all get that way. I do. That's why I don't post a lot on Facebook, because, I don't always trust myself to make the most rational statements all the time. Because a lot of times when I do want to post something, I'm emotional. So I would just say, always take a step back. And then if you really decide from a cool, calm, collective place, this is what I think, and this is what I think people would benefit than knowing, then go ahead with that.
Ben, what about you?
I would firstly second everything that Josh said, but I would also say that if before you talk to someone about it, consider the medium that you're going to talk to them about it. You talk to them on social media about it, yeah, you're going to have a really healthy discussion about it, and everyone's going to walk away a better person. No,
you're totally going to convince them.
If you genuinely believe that they seem to be not just like interested or nerding out on conspiracy theories, but that they are falling for ones that are a detriment to their health, that is a very unhealthy sort of almost cultish point of view that you're seeing on it. Because with the QAnon stuff, it almost becomes this like circle of people that kind of ostracize others. Like if you're seeing an unhealthy thing following from that point of view, then I think that as another Christian that you ought to talk to them about it and have that conversation with them about it. But the place that you talk to them about it and the platform you talk to them about it is extremely important, because the platform that they're seeing and sharing these things on through social media is not one of healthy dialogue and discourse. It is about shouting opinions and then criticizing anyone who disagrees with you. And so I think you have to be careful about the way you do it. I think that some conspiracy theories are more harmful than others. Like if you have a person who continues to espouse these things and is trying to, what did they call it? Red pilling, that you're trying to kind of convert people to your side. And it seems like they are trying to sway people into a faulty logic and a form of thinking. Then I think that for health of the body, yeah, that's something that should be addressed, because it's bigger than just, oh, I heard this thing and I fell for it. It's you are deceived in your thinking and you're trying to draw other people into that deceived way of thinking. Yeah. And I think that's the more important underlying thing is there an unhealthy mentality that is being produced by this, and making sure that doesn't become cancerous.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you and Josh both touched on it. I just want to make sure, I think there's a difference between okay, you believing something, wrestling with it, hopefully checking the facts, but then there's a difference between that and then also being the one who's sharing that and furthering that. So just to echo that, Devin, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah. So I listened to a great podcast on principles for evaluating conspiracy theories, and it was mainly related to COVID, but they kind of apply to really any conspiracy theory. And if anybody wants to listen to that, it's a guy named Frank Turek. He has a podcast called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, based on the book that he co-wrote with Norm Geisler. But it actually wasn't him on the podcast. It was a guy named J. Warner Wallace, who I think is a Christian author. He's written some stuff as well, but he's a cold case investigator. That's been his job. And he's been on Dateline a bunch of times for solving cold case murders. Ooh. But Josh and Ben and you actually already kind of essentially hit on some of his points. But I'll hit on a couple, I guess, that y'all didn't hit on. One of his, especially relating to social media, was basically everything is possible, but not everything is reasonable. So is it possible that Donald Trump is a reptilian alien? Sure, it's possible. Is it reasonable? Probably not.
Yeah.
So,
Oh no.
oh man, we gotta clip that right there. That was good.
Yeah.
But his point was, don't post possible, only post investigated, reasonable conclusions. And another important thing for evaluating these things was, and I think this one's super important when we just see these videos that get shared and go viral super quick, is you've got to do your homework on who is this person, what are their other beliefs, and what are their motives for putting forth whatever information they're putting forth. And he boils it down to, he thinks there are only 3 real motives when it comes to any misbehavior, and it's sexual desire, financial gain, and pursuit of power. If they have something to gain in one of those areas, you should be skeptical. And so I think when I've seen, like, you know, when pandemic came around a couple of months ago, and then with the doctors that came out on, you know, a couple of weeks ago, just simple questions of, who are these people? One, are they actors? Are they even qualified to be talking about this stuff? Who's the interviewer? Because I think the doctors thing, it was the Tea Party Patriots. And if you go look at some of their stuff, it's like, okay, this is kind of a radical group. And so I don't know. I'm not saying what they're saying isn't true, but I should probably have some skepticism going forward. But then even the pandemic thing that came out months ago, turns out that lady is an author of several conspiracy theory books about vaccines and stuff like that. And so it fits her narrative. She gains influence through, you know, just followers, which is, you know, fits the power box, and then also financial gain. I won't comment on the other one. Maybe she stood to gain something there, but
no, I think you guys are spot on that. I think it's I think, Josh, the way you summed it up is probably, if you're going to take one thing from it, my 2 cents would be just like to pause, really look into stuff, and decide from there your course of action. But man, it's a crazy year for sure, and I'm ready to get back to some form of normalcy. Well, that's not necessarily true, because normal's out the window. What we knew is normal isn't going to be around. But one thing that I am looking forward to.
Here it is. Here's the segue.
Yeah.
Here it is. He's got it.
I know. I saw it coming. It's beautiful. Go, Isaiah. Go.
No,
go.
it was. Have fun. Josh, tell us about Tenet.
Oh yeah, woo! Yeah. So remember how like all these summer blockbusters didn't come out this year and stuff and whatever?
No. I'm gonna stop you there, because now I'm gonna ruin your intro, because you guys ruined my transition. This is gonna be a beautiful transition from conspiracy theories to movies.
Yeah.
I was navigating that, and you guys just had to poop on it.
I wanted to celebrate it so badly. I'm sorry I couldn't wait, because I saw it coming and I thought it was beautiful. Anyway,
So the Hollywood Reporter, Christopher Nolan's Tenet, they secured a release date on the September 4th in China.
September 3rd in the United States.
My birthday.
In select theaters.
The ones that are open. Trust me, I've been trying to look at a movie theater recently. Not a lot.
Exactly. So for all intents and purposes, it's not getting a U.S. release, really. Because LA is probably not going to be able to release it and anything like that. Are you excited for this movie?
I am excited for movies, I guess, and this is symbolic of that. I like Christopher Nolan, so I would watch this, I guess. You know, right now it's like nothing else is coming out, but the more thing that I wanted to talk about was, this got me thinking about Christopher Nolan movies in general, which you can watch whenever you want because of streaming and stuff. So question for y'all and people who are still watching, you know, those 3 of you, you know, comment in the comments. What's your favorite Christopher Nolan movie? Maybe what's your favorite and what's the best if they're different?
Oof.
What is y'all's?
The Dark Knight trilogy. I already said it.
No, that's not a movie. Out of the 3.
Fine, the
Because
Dark
gotta pick one.
We can
Okay,
all
The Dark-
agree that The Dark Knight Rises is the worst film he's ever made, right?
I don't know about the worst film he's ever made. It's the worst out of the trilogy.
Fine, the worst that anyone's ever made.
No,
Right,
The Dark Knight.
Worst out of the trilogy, but I think honestly I enjoy watching that one the most. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
just
can't
more
stand
enjoyable
that
for
movie.
me. For whatever
Is it all the parts that Batman's not in it, or
Maybe.
I wish I had my cool mask.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I enjoy the Bane accent.
yeah?
It's fun.
You think the darkness is right.
It sounds like Darth Vader. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you didn't understand any of that, that means I hit the impersonation perfectly.
Okay, so we got to vote for Dark Knight. Devin, what's your favorite Nolan movie?
Interstellar's Nolan, right? I think it is.
Yes.
Interstellar.
Yes.
Interstellar's my favorite. I love it.
Ooh, I got some.
Got
favorites.
everything.
Y'all keep going.
So
Isaiah, what's your favorite?
You love it so much that you don't know if he actually directed it.
I'm trying to remember. I was
Hey.
like, I'm fairly certain, but I don't want to.
Michael Caine was in it. It had a loud score. Totally Christopher Nolan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. For me, it would be a tie between like the Dark Knight or Inception.
Yeah. Inception's my number 2.
Dude, no love for Memento. Anybody? I think Memento is his best and my favorite. I think it's.
I used to have
phenomenal.
like a love, like kind of those movies that get like the cult following. You watched 5 times a year at least for Memento, and I went back and watched it this last time, and for some reason it took like
Not feeling
3
it?
steps back for me. I don't know
Oh,
why.
wow. Yeah, no,
I
I like the movie. I saw it a long time ago, but then saw it recently, and I just think that the way, the narrative gimmick is it plays backwards for a lot of it, but it's not a
Mhm.
gimmick. It's actually an aid to storytelling because you're really getting into the mind of the protagonist who has short-term memory loss. And I love when things do stuff like that. Like 1917, the one take,
Yeah.
quote unquote one take, aided the story. It wasn't just a random thing like, look at this neat thing we could technically do. So that's why I think Memento's great. I do like The Dark Knight. Not really a fan of the other two, especially not The Dark Knight Rises.
I think one of his most rewatchable is The Prestige.
Oh,
That's a good one.
See, but
I go back and watch it.
I 100%
I'm like,
disagree with that.
Really?
So no,
Is it
okay,
because
so
of the twist?
no. I want to. So give me a second here. I want to compare this to another magic movie, The Illusionist.
Boo.
Okay. No, hold
I
on. Give
haven't
me a
seen
second.
it.
So the Illusionist is the one with Paul Giamatti. What are you doing, Ben?
I thought this was a Nolan segment.
Yeah, calm down, Shark Week. But no, so here's the reason that like I don't think I'm not arguing Prestige is bad or that The Illusionist is better. I don't agree with those two things. I'm talking about the rewatchability of the Prestige. So you take a movie like The Illusionist, you take a movie like The Prestige, and once you know the twist, and this movie's been out long enough to where I don't care if I say it, they're like you have twins, right? So my thing is that you get 2 watches of the Prestige. After that, it takes a huge drop in rewatchability.
I have only seen it once.
It's kind of like the Book of Eli type thing, where it's like you watch it, you get to experience the twist, and then you go back and rewatch it maybe two, right? But at some point, it's like it loses it when because you find all the little like, oh, that's why he was able to do this, but not the other. Or otherwise though, like you take a movie like The Illusionist, and I think because of what they did towards the end, when you find out the twist of how he's been navigating all this stuff, Edward Norton's character, and you see Paul Giamatti experience that, and you see him live that, like allows you. I feel like that has more rewatchability even after you know the twist because of the way that they did it, that they told the story. The Prestige for me, again, after you know the twist. Like I got maybe 1, maybe 2 rewatches out of it to where I wasn't like skipping through scenes. Like if it's a movie that I'm going to skip to my favorite parts, I don't think that has rewatchability necessarily.
I disagree. I think that every time I watch The Prestige, I pick up on some little subtle thing that I just like never saw before. And
it's because you watch all your movies in the background.
Huh?
Don't you watch all your movies in the background?
No, I can't do that. I'm not a background movie type person. If it's on, I want to be invested watching it.
Yeah, I agree with Devin, and I think Isaiah's shirt looks like tacky wallpaper of a rundown Asian buffet. But I
was reading a comment. What did you say about me?
Oh no, that makes it all the better. I'm not even gonna. You'll just have to
see it later when you upload this to YouTube.
Hey, before we get too far from it, somebody had a comment about our last segment. I want to go ahead and ask it. Someone said, I know y'all already moved on from this, and maybe you discussed it before I started watching, but what do y'all think overall about sharing a video on social media that you do agree with if the individual in the video also has content out there that you don't agree with? Can you, essentially this is the question of, can you partially agree with someone even to the point of promoting without having to like subscribe fully to everything? Just to quick on that, because we didn't mention that, but I think that is important.
For sure, it depends on the person though, because I mean, if it's like a character like Alex Jones or something like that, then I'm just going to be really skeptical to put something of his out there, even if I'm, I don't agree with almost anything he says, but maybe that's a bad example. But I mean, I will regularly post stuff or quote something from somebody that I have, fundamental disagreements with, but I think if they're accurate on this certain, segment of whatever they're talking about, then I can share it. But if it's a controversial figure, which there are a lot of, especially these kind of Facebook politicians and stuff that comment on, everything that's going on in the political world, they're kind of a controversial figure. And so I feel like for me personally, if I'm going to share something of theirs that I agree with, I might preface it with, hey, I don't think that this person's a good source of information on many other topics, but for just this segment right here, it's, worth sharing. So.
Right. I feel like do you guys, like, my thing would be, because I've talked about this with someone else, like, so when we're talking about like, can you share it? I think like a couple things I gave them as like filtering questions. I was like, well, is there a better representative of that position that you can share their stuff instead?
Yeah.
2, can you not write your own about it? And then 3 would be like, I mean, if it's just like, no, this specific content is what, like, it's a video that showed something, but the source of it is not, I don't agree with fully. Like, I think you got to take Devin's road there where it's like a preface. But at that point, man, it's like, I don't care how many disclaimers you put on a social media post, like, you're going to get lumped in. So I think like my thing would be is if there's a fear of being lumped in with the source and their other beliefs, and find a different candidate to be, that's the conversation I had with people a week ago about the frontline doctor stuff. Like, man, I'm not trying to tell you to believe it or not believe it. I think there's some compelling things. I think you should just find a different front runner for your position to go do it, only because, like, if nothing else, her reputation is going to make it really hard for people to actually see the point you're trying to make.
Right.
But that's not a, I don't necessarily, so I would just say, like, that's kind of like the downside of social media. So if you're going to use this medium, I think those are the precautions you have to take. Do you guys agree?
I agree. I think it's always try to find the best representation of it. But at the end of the day, you're never going to 100% agree with any person you post about once you dive into the other things that they say.
Yeah, especially if you're Ben Dishman. Oh wait, no, I gotta look here. What did you say about me?
He said that your shirt looks like the tacky wallpaper at Asian Super Buffet or something.
And you should have just let him go back and watch it.
I was attacking. I don't really mean that. It's a nice shirt, and I love it. And, but
also, I'm hungry.
Yeah. No, I agree that you need to have good, look for your best representation, but then also, before you even post something on social media, ask how many people are actually going to watch this, or they're just going to agree or disagree based off of the premise. Like, that's why I've not shared as much as I've used to, because all I really noticed is that on social media, the people who already like that person that I'm posting, or who already like the title of it, they're going to go ahead and just like it and enjoy it. They're probably not even going to watch it, even though they're a fan. And the people who disagree with the premise are going to go ahead and blast it before even reading or watching what I've shared. And
you see that whenever somebody posts like an article of an opposing view, and their text is talking about how, like, they don't agree, but then you'll see in the comments their reaction, like, I can't believe you agree with that. And it's like, did you read the article?
I would say, so I would say, on top of contextualizing it, I would say also find your own words for it. Like, they can't really necessarily bash, they could try to bash you directly. That would be fun to see happen on social media, and they probably will, no matter what you post. But I think, like, if you can say, these are people that I've heard and listened to, but here are my thoughts personally attached to it, I think that goes a long way. But for the most part, people, whenever I post something about racism in the United States or in the church, that people are going to already have an opinion about it, and they're going to post their opinion, and they're not reading my stuff to learn or grow. So I just don't post much on social media anymore, because I don't see it as a platform where people are actually developing and growing as people.
So yeah, thanks for jumping back into that, guys. To pull us back to the movies they do, are you guys planning on paying the $30 to watch Mulan?
No.
I get, like,
why not?
People involved in it.
Dude, these live action movies, I mean, the animated ones are so good. Why wouldn't you? Like, I don't know. maybe they have more appeal to other people. Well, they definitely do. But yeah,
So you're
I'm
not
not
you're
trashing the original movies. I think they're classics, and that's why I feel like
If I
these
can
remakes are really shallow.
If I
for
can,
me it was less about like Mulan and more just about like I genuinely miss going to see movies in theater.
Yeah.
And it was going to scratch that like, oh, this is a new release type thing. Like when they did the beginning of the year, they released just the Trolls movie. They just like dumped it on the platform. It got a bunch of plays, but like this one was, I mean, overpriced possibly.
You're
but
really
like,
waiting for the Trolls movie, huh?
no, that's just an example of a movie that they
watching
also
that had a Google alert on that.
Those weren't bad.
no man,
I
they're
would like
awesome.
a question
Yeah.
for the comments, based off of what you just said, Isaiah.
What?
What?
Do you think that it is fine, weird, or great to go to a movie completely by yourself?
I think it's totally fine.
I know you do.
Also, no, we need to throw in the option of weird. Like, do you think it's weird to go to a movie by yourself? Because
Wait, hold on one second. So wait, you're trying to out me as
Yep.
as awkward because I've gone to a movie theater by myself?
We're asking, no, Isaiah, we were just asking our viewers, to comment to see what they think. You do that though, huh? I didn't even know.
Does.
Yeah.
Well, somebody just commented great, and so I don't know if that was in reply to what we
Thanks,
just got done
Rebecca.
saying or this. No. It was our friend Laura. She said great, and so I'm assuming I'm going to take that, contextualize it for my benefit, and say that she was talking about it's great to go see a movie by yourself. Yeah. She said everyone should do it once. Everyone should. Well, I
have done it
more
once.
than I do it more than once. So let me go ahead and explain where I felt like started doing that. So when I lived in Las Vegas, like I had friends, I had like coworkers and employees, and we would hang out and stuff like that. But like I didn't have anything to do where I worked at was closed on Sundays. And so, like, what I would do, just because I didn't have a ton of friends out there, I lived out there for right at about a year. Like, I would go on Sundays, and it was like, this is gonna make me sound, God dang it. Like, I would go I would get into, I would go see no, clearly I'm not. I would go and see I would see a matinee movie, and then go to like the IHOP that was right next to it, and just kind of like do my thing.
Sounds like a good day.
Yeah, apparently it makes me weird though. But
I didn't say that. I just said we should give our.
So, but just specifically on the movie thing, you guys don't. You think it's so weird socially to watch a movie by yourself that you would rather, like,
In theaters.
yeah, whatever. Do you know what's the most annoying thing in theaters? The people you watch the movie with.
Oh,
Hey,
that's why
I'm that
so
guy.
like-
Yeah, 100%. Like it's the worst part of the movie watching experience is the people you go with, not the people that are in the theater, but the people
I
you
feel
go
personally attacked.
Hold
Oh,
up,
come on.
Yeah, because one of my favorite movie going experiences is seeing a terrible movie with Josh.
Dude, same with you, man. Those are
with.
fun.
There's a place. I mean, I'm not saying you can't, like, if you guys are all on the same page about going, and it depends on the movie, right? If I've seen it before, if I don't have high hopes for it, who I'm going with, I have to calibrate. Like, if I go to see a movie with you guys, I have to calibrate to not really trying to watch this movie because there's going to be so many jokes flying back and forth.
Well, hold up.
We did good when we watched The Lighthouse.
Because we all wanted to watch it and it was weird.
Yeah,
No,
it was
we
weird.
made
I was
jokes.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Me and
No,
Ben
but
were
whenever
making
we go
jokes.
see like if we go see Wes Anderson films, we will make some comments, but we're still like wanting to watch the movie.
Or
All
like
you've done
if-
is prove my point. You calibrate based on the movie. If you guys,
Yeah.
if this is going to be a talking movie or if it's not, and I'm just saying,
We-
my default whenever we go see a movie is I'm probably not going to get to watch this fully.
When
And
we went and saw
so-
Endgame, we were all zoned in.
Yeah. And I knew with Endgame not to make any comments. I knew that would not be
And
taken
you know
well.
what?
So I
You know what I had done already by the time we went and
seen
saw
it
Endgame.
like 3 times.
I had seen it 3 times, twice
Oh,
by
really?
myself.
I was exaggerating. Jeez.
You saw that twice by yourself.
Yeah, well, so there was a movie theater right down the street from where on West 6th
What
or
was he
West 7th,
supposed
whenever
to
we
do,
lived.
Devin?
Did you premeditate that, or were you able to just walk in and buy a ticket? Because I bought our tickets like a week in advance for Endgame. So
No, it was all about the time. Also, it wasn't the Thursday Thursday at 10 p.m.
yeah,
It was like the Friday matinee at 10 a.m. I just went down the street because it was on a Friday. Everyone's at work. Walked in there, got to watch the thing by myself. Essentially, there was like 3 other people in there,
Huh.
and so, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Cool.
But to answer the question, no, I will not be paying $30 to watch Mulan, mainly just because I'm not that interested in that movie. Now, when Tenet comes out, that's a movie I'm interested in. If it's like 20 or $30, I might consider renting it.
So you're not going to get to see it until like the new year, unless you can
Tenet?
find one of those theaters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they're
I
having
mean-
a theatrical release. So
Yeah, they're doing
Oh,
their
okay,
world.
so they're not doing the whole releasing it on a platform and saying, "Hey, it's $20 or $30."
They may, so
as of
they're
right
still in the movie world. Actually, if you guys haven't watched these, I highly recommend them. The Hollywood Reporter channel on YouTube. They do these roundtable discussions. They've been doing them digitally and they're not as good, but like even just 4 months back, they were still doing them in person where they'll bring in just a focused group of whether it's like comedians or female actors or directors, screenwriters. They did one with executive producing companies, and so you had the head of like Disney, Fox, Sony, Paramount, Netflix, Amazon. They were all around a table, and it was really cool. Like it was the one I told Josh this. I did not think I would find that interesting, but watching them talk shop about like how they always talk about the window, the release window and stuff like that, and so like they were talking about how, and this was before COVID really hit, but they were just talking about because of the digital shift. They were talking to like how strategy has to change before, because it used to be like theatrical. You'd have your promo, you'd have your theatrical release that would last months, and then you would go ahead and dump it into DVDs or digital. But that window is shrinking for them to make money, so they're going to try to milk even Tenet, because it cost them like $200 million to make. So they have to get as much as they can from the theaters
yeah,
before they go digital. But it's like, depending on what happens with COVID and theaters reopening, it's going to depend on how long they keep it theater exclusive before they have to. Like at some point, you're going to lose money if you don't put it on digital.
Yeah.
But that becomes a harder thing for me, because it's like I'm already paying subscriptions. Like I do have to like ask myself, how much do I want to see something before I'm going to pay extra on top of my subscription to see something.
You pay for subscriptions?
get your
Now-
friends' passwords. LOL.
I know the COVID stuff. A lot of people thought that, could this be the death of the theater business? Just because they saw the benefit of just putting it out on a platform, people watching it from home. But for me, like, no, I'm with you, Isaiah. I just enjoyed the theater experience so much that even if a movie like Tenet or like the next Marvel movie or Star Wars, they give you the dual option, and you can pay $30 to watch it at home, or you can pay $15 per ticket to watch it at a theater. I'm still going to take the opportunity to get out, go to the theater, just because it's an experience. You're getting out of the house, and but it's only for certain movies. I don't like, for me, if I'm going to go to the theater, I have to see that movie as like theater quality, like worthy.
Do you guys think that, like, though I don't think COVID was ended up being the end of, Clay. So our friend Clay just said, "Is this on ESPN or Fox Sports? We look professional." Appreciate that, Clay. Do you guys think that, so in the same way that like time and just like the furthering of like technology and quality and sound and video ended up being the end of like the drive-through era, do you think COVID hasn't ended the theaters, but it has definitely taken like a big chunk? Like it cut into it really. Like tons of theaters have had to close down, worldwide, and they're going to slowly reopen. But like, even if it doesn't go away, what do you think the next like iteration of like taking in cinema is going to look like? Or is it digital, and that's like we're seeing the transition?
I feel like there could be I think we are going to see just a dip in theater attendance just over the next few years, because a lot of them are just going to go belly up right now. I think that we'll see a comeback in theaters when newer investors come back, when times are more like they used to be. But I don't know what innovation that could lead to next, but I don't see theaters going away forever, but I do see a dramatic dip just because, I mean, I don't know what the update's been on AMC, but AMC was struggling before all of this.
Mhm.
And so they're saying they might just go straight bankrupt.
Well, I
Cinemark
thought-
has started to open up theaters, or they have plans. Like I have a
Okay.
couple of friends that work for Cinemark, and they've put out like, hey, this location's opening back up soon. This location, but man, it's tough.
Well,
Sorry,
I
Ben,
think
you were gonna say something?
there's a battle between like the online, the at-home digital release and doing it in person, because I think that a lot of theaters are going to push back if you do both, because Universal said after they released Trolls that they were surprised by the response on that and how much they actually made on that. That they said that they were gonna maybe do a lot more of that, or that they were considering putting all of their movies out at a theater release in tandem with a home digital release. And then AMC, I think it was, said, then we're just not going to show any Universal pictures in theaters at all. And so they just kind of put the hammer down on that, like, all right, well, then we're done with you. So to that end, I think what you could end up seeing is, and you were talking about new investors, that one potential option is the studios themselves having a bigger hand into the movie theaters, so that way they're actually the direct, they're not having to give any money to the theaters to show their films. They own the theaters that's showing their film, and so that might give preferential treatment to certain theaters based off of whether or not the studio owns them. I don't know, but I think that the experience of it, the going out, let's go see a movie, that element, I think is still kind of ingrained in society. I think that it might end up with fewer theaters, or theaters that might show movies on fewer screens, or multi-purpose for those theaters. But I don't think it's going to be the death of them. I think it's just going to be, a slow recovery time. But really, the only thing making me nervous about going to see a movie in theaters is that one of the first movies I saw when COVID broke was the movie Outbreak. And like the whole town catches the thing because they all went to the movies.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
one
if you can go find some movie about winning the lottery, go watch that.
Yeah.
Was that what that was about?
Yeah,
No, I'm saying
I
that was a
didn't get
joke, as in
either.
like last time you went and saw a movie about something, it happened. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Nope. Yep.
No,
Cutting that one out of the edit.
Yeah.
So Ben, to your point though, just like in case you were wondering, so a big even before COVID hit, like a big issue that has been hitting the theaters is because the window of release has shrunk from, like, as far as the theatrical window of releasing. So when movies are made, right, the executive producers, like, they front the bill, and that includes promo marketing, the theatrical release, and then even after that, like how they roll it into digital and DVD and stuff, or in Blu-ray. But the theaters genuinely don't make money on the weekend release. That all goes back to the studios. The theaters make their money on the subsequential weekends that the thing's in there. And so the reason that theaters, like, so there already has been this pull back and forth, because movies are leaving theaters so soon before the theaters can ever make any money. And so, like, but that's why the executive producers of these movies are all having to think through, like, Martin Scorsese's last film, The Italian, I think that was the name of it.
The Irishman.
The Irishman, sorry.
Yeah.
All those
Irishman.
dirty Europeans
Yeah.
are the same.
It took them like 10 years to get that off the ground because no one would fund it. But Netflix was able to, because the way that they make their money back on it is over a certain amount of time. Like, executive studios have to
Well, it's that they don't, but
What's that?
I was like, it's that they don't, but that's a different discussion.
Who doesn't?
Netflix doesn't make money.
Well, I mean, like, whether or not, like, the risk, like the return on investment, whether it's a negative,
Right,
like
yeah,
I was talking in that roundtable, because they can go into a project like that and take a net loss, because of where else it'll make up, because of the platform being what it is.
And
You're
still
not
trick their investors into pouring more money in.
Yeah, but that's all. That was another part of it. Anyway, I'm looking forward to get back into the movie theaters.
Same.
Cool. Is this where I introduced the movie club thing? Do we want to do that?
Oh yes, do that. And then we'll...
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna have a somewhat recurring segment on this show, assuming that we're all still here and doing this and whatnot. But I'm going to every now and then suggest a movie for our group to watch. If you're watching the show, we'd love to have you watch the movie that week and be able to comment on it. But next week, we will have all watched a movie together, and we're going to discuss it. And I've got some talking points to go through on it, so don't think it'll just be random. But the movie that we're going to watch this week, which you can rent on YouTube, Amazon, iTunes, whatever, it's only $3. And we all have to watch this, guys, all right? Or else the segment doesn't work. Did Ben?
Well, you put this out on live, so
Yeah. So the movie is Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky. It is the idea behind these movies. Hold on. The ideas behind these movies is that they're going to be challenging. They're going to contain themes that I think are relevant, especially for just Christian life, but in general. And so Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky is awesome. It is challenging though. Okay. I want to throw that out there. It's challenging.
Can I just go watch Swim Fan?
No. But I promise you here, if you go in with this mindset, guys, think of what the director is trying to make you feel. And I want you to think of this movie. And I know this is going to sound vague, but keep in your mind, how does this view it as a Christian is watching this and interpreting the world through that? I know that's a vague way, but keep that idea because, again, it's a challenging movie to watch. Okay, don't freak out. It is in Russian, but subtitles. Okay, hold on. Isaiah, don't tell me you haven't watched countless hours of anime in Japanese. All right.
I'm usually a dub guy, but I'll sub if I have to. But people don't agree with me.
Use subtitles. It's easier than you think. I used to think that wasn't good either. But yeah, Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky. Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's a long movie though, so.
Oh man.
I know it's challenging, but I promise you guys,
You're doing such a good job.
It's gonna be a great experience.
This
Maybe not the best movie for date night, but
I was gonna say this is
it's
gonna
the
be a
thinking
really
man's movie.
hard sell on getting my wife to like, hey, what movie do you want to watch this week? Well, actually, a hard sell.
Yes. Hey,
All right.
Here's a little carrot along with that is that
Oh,
Andrei Tarkovsky is a
There's Rebecca. That's my
famous-
wife.
Hey, Rebecca.
I got a new toy.
Nice. But if you watch an Andrei Tarkovsky film, then you can talk to people like, oh yes, I've watched Tarkovsky because he's a cinephile's director.
You're telling me to watch this for the pretentiousness that it will give me?
If you can't come in with better motives, then yes.
Yeah. I've already been pretty accused. I've been accused already being pretty arrogant and pretentious already, so this is really going to help.
Don't go read the comments.
So
No, I'm just
this will be
kidding.
good for you. But yeah, Stalker, Andrei Tarkovsky. We're going to watch it next week. Anybody who's watching with us and wants a challenging view that is very contemplative of life, watch it with us.
All right, that sounds good. I think we'll probably I don't know if we'll open with that or end with that, but we'll talk about that next week. Man, this has been fun, guys. Thanks. We have increased our length by about 37 minutes today. So, hey, if you're following us, thanks for swinging in. If you stayed with us this whole time, be sure to drop a like and comment, say, hey, we'll be moving this over to its own page eventually. But talked about it. If we don't have a following, then no need to go maintain all that stuff. So hope you guys are enjoying it. If you guys have suggestions about things you guys would love us to talk about, if you are an expert in that and would want to even come on, like, man, let us know. This is I talked to somebody last week about it. Like the format of this really is just four guys giving their commentary and their thoughts on things that are going on and that interest us. And so we don't claim to be experts by any means in any of this, but we just love talking and having conversations. So thanks guys for being here. Bye Devin, Josh, and bye Ben.
That's so weird. Bye guys.
We gotta come up. We have to have a sign off at some point. I'm not sure what it'll be.
Either collective or individual.
Yeah.
Stay classy,
I just keep
San
thinking of
Diego.
those two. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Later.